I mean, if you look at Twitter, it feels like Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets. Is this happening? Packers fans, I'm here in support with you and Jordan Love. We'll talk about that, of course, as that deal seems to be kind of maybe happening, which I didn't think was going to happen at all. So I'm a little shocked here on a Thursday, I believe. We've got Hamilton. We've got quarterback guru Yogi Roth on the show. We have Sam Monson. I got to find some liquor somewhere in here. Let's do it. Aaron Rodgers rumors are swirling this morning. I'm in California. Aaron, I'll meet you at the Erewhon in Pacific Palisades, halfway from me to where you are in Malibu. Let's talk about this. Let's go through some of this. So very excited to have some draft talk on today's show. We'll have a very well-rounded program here today, but there are reports that the Jets are feeling optimistic that they will land the bona fide, certified, only one ring though, future Hall of Famer. We had Chris Collinsworth on Gronk yesterday. I asked them both the question, if what he wants is a Super Bowl ring, which is what he says he wants, what McAfee, he said on that show, reaffirmed by everyone, is New York the better place to get it than where he was in Green Bay? That has to be the question that's in his head. It's certainly on our minds as we continue to hear these reports that the Packers also won't play hardball when it comes to making a trade. They're not going to put up a huge fight for compensation. If he wants to leave, let him leave. We'll help him pack his bags, that sort of thing. So, and I guess it's probably up to Aaron to go call LaFleur and company and every single owner of the Packers team to tell them what his decision is. Okay. There's also these, and we can bring in Hamilton here. Hamilton, are you a little surprised by this, or did you think this was going to happen?
I'm a little bit surprised. I mean, obviously everybody wants, there's that feeling you want to see Aaron Rodgers finish out his career as a Green Bay Packer. It did seem like it was just kind of putting feelers out there, and it's still hard to imagine him leaving, but the momentum is really swinging. I can tell you here in New York, the excitement is building, and these Jets fans really have their hopes up right now. They really are counting on this to happen.
And that's kind of not the problem for the Jets, but if you're the Jets now and you always want to give your fans something to be excited about, and like you've been in the doldrums for so long, but now you're at a point where you are Jack Cusack and you are with the boombox and the whole world is watching. Like, that is an iconic image. And what is that image? Vulnerability. It is, we are all in. It's The Bachelor. It's you. She better say yes, because you passed up on that really well-rounded girl with the great family from Idaho. I made that up. And that's Derek Carr. That really nice, sterling, younger situation with Derek Carr for the chance at this guy saying that he wants to play for your team. So, and I really don't think you ever know with Aaron Rodgers. So it's curious to even hear the word optimistic, to put that out there, to have that, to tell anyone that sort of a vibe makes it seem to me like it has to happen. Because if you're the Jets, this fan base who shows up at the draft and boos everything that ever happens is going to lose their mind. So don't knock at the girl at the end of the movie.
Yeah, that's a great point, to kind of have this out there that they're feeling optimistic. I wouldn't want anything out there right now, because you're right. This fan base lives on highs and lows, and I can tell that, as I said, the mania is building here. They're ready for Aaron Rodgers, and if it doesn't happen at this point, it's going to be a crushing blow. And there's going to be a lot of disappointed people here. But I'm with you with what you said yesterday. I do love the fact that the Jets organization is being aggressive here, is taking a swing, is really taking that gamble, rolling the dice to try to get a ring here. It's not just good enough to make the playoffs. They want to build a championship team, and you got to respect that.
We got Hamilton on the show. We got Yogi Roth on the show. Sam Monson will be here. Thanks, Sam. We'll talk to you in a bit. There's also really fun tweets that I'm seeing this morning. Very unsubstantiated records and accords that Aaron Rodgers has bought an apartment somewhere in New York, in Manhattan. There's a lot of smoke around, which I completely don't believe, because it says that he bought a place on the Upper East Side, which doesn't make any sense to me, because he if you were to put Rodgers anywhere, it would have to be, I think, Tribeca, where Tom Brady lives, just because it's quiet. I like New York for him, though, if I'm to be honest, because I feel like it's a great, when you're living in Appleton, Wisconsin, and you're Aaron Rodgers, you can't exactly waltz into the Piggly Wiggly and buy yourself, whatever ashwagandha powder he wants to buy that day. But if in New York, people might recognize him, but they won't bother him. I feel like he's the guy who says he wants to live on the Lower East Side, but he ends up buying a place in Tribeca. That's what he strikes me as. And I cannot picture him, though, wearing or trading in like the Big Lebowski t-shirts for like a double Windsor knotted Goldman Sachs vibe, or like hanging out with the Blair Waldorfs of the world up there. I don't see him as an Upper East Side guy. Also, it's far. Okay. 44.4 miles from the Jets facility in Florham Park. So I digress here. I'm just having a little fun with it. It seems like a bunch of things led to this. This isn't some shocker, and both sides, the Jets are excited, and kudos to them for being so badass and aggressive about this. And the Packers, must be okay and excited with what they have in Jordan Love. That's it, because it's what's not being said, right? There's been reports the Packers feel confident in him, but they're also not the only ones that are seeing it. We had Chris Collinsworth on our show yesterday, and my ears perked up to hear his voice perk up in talking about what he saw with his own eyes calling that game when he got action on Sunday Night Football.
We saw Jordan Love in Philadelphia this year. I was like, man, did he get better since the last time I saw him in whatever it was, preseason or some game.
And that's a Chris Collinsworth who gets a lot of grief for loving Aaron Rodgers, saying that about Jordan Love. And, I've been a long-term supporter of letting quarterbacks sit. It's the best way to do it. And it seems like Love has really probably developed behind the scenes. We asked Chris Collinsworth about the quarterback draft class this year, and he said, well, the perfect situation is having them sit behind a guy. And that's what Jordan Love's been able to do. And we did get a sneak peek at that. Like Collinsworth isn't just saying that based off of, preseason tape where he was better, but he was a little bit more, he was inaccurate. He took some shots there, but Collinsworth was in the building for this game you're seeing right now. Love sparkled in relief of Aaron down the stretch. And some people have been wondering if the Packers should shut Rodgers down for the rest of the season. I remember after that game when I thought about it, and everyone was like, let's give Love a chance to go in and prep for our future. So I know emotions will be high for this fan base if they decide to move on from Aaron, but I do think that Love, is ready to give these fans something genuinely to be excited about moving forward. And of course, he's under contract this year, but the Packers they don't have a lot of time. What is this? March? Gosh, I never know off-season days. What's today? Today's March 9th. Conrad just goes, it's March 10th. It's March 9th. And they have until May 1st to decide whether or not they want to pick up that 5th-year option. That's really nice and pretty. That's $20 million for 2024. As well. All right, let's keep this thing moving. The free agency window opens up on Monday. So this, of course, is a storyline that we're certainly watching and monitoring as these things go on. But agents and teams and players, they all get to start negotiating on Monday. And there's, if you look at this, a crazy, talented, star-studded list of free agents if you take a look. Tom Brady retiring, Derek Carr's off the board, Daniel Jones and Geno re-signing, Jimmy G likely the top quarterback hitting the free agent markets. We'll dig into that more later. So much talent at running back. We could see Zeke Elliott join that group still. Let's not forget. And by the way, let's not forget the Odell in all of this. Chiefs tackle Orlando Brown. By the way, he might get the biggest money deal of anybody this season. And if you look at defense, the Chiefs, they got rid of Frank Clark on Tuesday. He's the king of the hill when it comes to pass rushers available. The loaded group of linebackers. We were supposed to have Lavonte David on this week. He had to cancel, but I was so excited to talk to him because it's him. It's Bobby Wagner. It's a bunch of talent at that spot. DB as well. Bradbury, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Jesse Bates, they're hitting the markers. So all of this kicks off Monday. But I do want to just sort of lay out ahead of that because I know things are going to be insane on Monday. And we'll have a new studio that we're sort of building in this house, which I'm excited about too. But next week, ahead of this, here's a couple things that I'm really looking for because the big bombshells of the offseason, they might come via trade, in my opinion, because there are rumors swirling about some legit superstars right now. Potential trade candidates. We talked about Aaron off the top. all of these players, if you look at this, are, they're at the center of some legit trade rumors. So Mike Silver said that the Titans are shopping Derrick Henry, DeAndre Hopkins. That's been swirling for months and months and months. Matthew Berry is saying the Broncos are quietly shopping Cortland Sutton. I'd like to know that connection. And Tom Pelissero said that the Rams are going to deal Jalen Ramsey probably at some point. So that's a lot of star power up for grabs, and it could go a long way in swinging the balance of the power in the AFC. We are sure to see an arms race continue, of course, in the NFL's most loaded and talented conference. And we've heard D-Hop linked to teams like Baltimore. I would die. I'm dying for this to happen. If they finally give Lamar a weapon like this, they're right back into contention in the AFC. That's how close I think they are. Weird, bizarre, Mojo Liz vibes were off year for the Ravens, but we've also heard him mentioned to New England as an option on the old Twitter webs and insiders and galore. But yeah, that would be a good thing for him and Mac too, because it brings Bill and Mac back into the conversation. And then Derrick Henry over to, I don't know, like a running back thirsty team like the Dolphins. Can we get him there? How do you stop Derrick Henry in a backfield while also trying to stop the speed of a Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle? This is nightmare stuff. Or even just him and Josh Allen in the same backfield, I would like to see that. And then Ramsey, listen, we've heard the Bengals brought up. Sure, they'll swing for the fences. They need a game changer in the secondary. The Patriots have been linked to him as well. Not a bad idea because they have to face guys like Tyreek and Garrett Wilson and Stephon Diggs, fresh off Paris Fashion Week, 6 times a year between those 3 alone. So the speculation of all of this is fun, but wherever these guys land, major blockbuster deals that I think will change the landscape for some of these contending teams. And so the trade, everyone talks about the big deals and the free agents, and there are some stars on there, but it's these trades I'm keeping my eye on because I think the talent is so interesting. The second thing I'm going to look for is movement at quarterback. And yes, that Aaron Rodgers domino, it would be so nice for him to just take care of that by the weekend, wouldn't it? Could we get that done so we can not deal with this on Monday? But it is really weird and rare to see a bunch of star quarterbacks, not even stars, but just proven good quarterbacks change teams in the offseason. But there is a lot of movement potential right now. The first domino fell with Derek Carr. But if you look at this right here, there are 7 teams in the market for quarterbacks: the Jets, the Colts, the Texans, the Raiders, Bucks, Panthers. The Titans make it 8 if they decide to move on from Tannehill. And if they do that, by the way, they save $20 million in cap space. So obviously some of these spots are going to be settled in the draft. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the draft, a lot of talent, but there are some big names that can be moved to fill these holes as well. You got the Aaron Rodgers, you got Lamar Jackson, but we're not going to stop hearing rumblings about Tom Brady and a return. I don't care how many cute cat tweets a comedy writer, mocks up for him in drafts and saves to get shot out. Like, he might not be thinking about it, which I don't believe, but GMs are calling. They're trying to figure it out. So, yeah, I don't know. I could see a Phillip Rivers like comeback from him. If Rodgers stays in Green Bay, is Jordan Love starting somewhere next year? Is he not staying in Green Bay? There's a lot you have to figure out with that too. And then somebody's going to give Jimmy G a shot. Baker Mayfield and Carson Wentz, they're looking for shots as well. So we could see more veteran, proven star quarterback movement that we've seen in a long time. So I'm excited to see that. Another thing that I'm looking for, and we've got Yogi Roth on the show and Sam Monson is going to we're just going to make everybody smarter here on a Thursday. I am looking at the Chicago Bears. Chris Collinsworth laughed at me when I brought them up to him yesterday, but their GM, this is all eyes on Ryan Poles. He is the key to this entire offseason. And there is this, can you call it a dilemma? What does he do with the number 1 pick? There's the most likely scenario that he trades down and goes and finds one of these quarterback needy teams that need somebody. And he could do that right now. Can we just do that and get it over with? Whenever it happens, whatever the Bears ultimately decide to do, that affects the entire draft. And with free agency, Chicago is sitting in the driver's seat. Polls, let's go. They've got 95 in cap space, just about that. That's so much more than anybody else right now. And it gives them a chance to make the biggest splash in the free agent market. And by the way, the pressure added to do so. Is this the year you come out on top, free agency, and make the smart draft decision? And Aaron Rodgers is gone from the NFC North? Are we kidding? This is dream scenario stuff for Chicago. I can't even believe that Justin Fields is going into his third year. That's insane. Third year was rookie deal. And that's that window. Clock is ticking. Build a contender before you have to figure out what to do with him and breaking him off. So we saw last year, he can be special. He can play and do stuff like this insane stuff right now. Ryan Poles needs to make the right moves to get him the pieces while he's still affordable. They're rebuilding, but there's also a clock ticking for them to make this happen. So this is a crazy stat, 5 of the last 10 teams to make it to the Super Bowl have done so with a rookie quarterback on a rookie deal. Like, look at that. It's the Bengals. It's the Eagles. It's the Niners. They've used the cap space that they had as a benefit from saving at the quarterback spot to invest in the rest of the roster to bolster it. And it's not a coincidence that they were 3 of the 4 final teams standing this past year ahead of the Super Bowl. So that's sort of blueprint. The Bears need to be like, that's smart. Let's follow it. And there's so much pressure on Ryan Poles. So, gosh, that would be really exciting if they worked that out. Okay. I want to just talk about some things I'm obsessed with. Can we do that? First of all, you know what, Conrad, I wish I could get you on. Can we get Hamilton back really quick? Ham, I'm going to go over these things I'm obsessed with. But I came home yesterday. I'm just going to take you for a walk now. That's my ring light. Okay.
What's happening?
Because I want to work from home, right? So here's what's, just so everybody knows, we're getting a remodel at our studio. So, which is amazing. We're getting like a brand new studio. So in the meantime, look what they built. They built like a little nook for me. And it's got all of this stuff that's happening in here. And it's so fancy. And we are so close to it. Look at, there you are. Inception.
Wait, where? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What were all those boxes back there?
What? Oh, yeah, I don't know. That stuff literally closed that I have not unpacked. But listen. Oh, there's my double chin, everybody.
You've been living there for
but isn't this nice? Like, this will be pretty great. Look at that. She brought
That's
my Stevie Wonder stuff over. It's great. I got this for Sam Monson.
It almost looks like It almost looks like a real home and not like an American Psycho apartment.
Shut up. This is that fancy shit that Chester drinks. This is a Chester vibe going on over here. Nice. Okay, so I'm currently obsessed with the fact that I have this little nook in my house that I'm going to get to do the show from. But here are some other current obsessions, and you can even stay here for this, Hamilton, if you can, because I'm obsessed with you as well. I'm obsessed with so many things. First of all, this idea that Jamie Lee Curtis had yesterday. I don't know if you saw it, or she's been in a couple interviews where she wants matinee concerts. She's like, Coldplay, Bruce Springsteen, SZA, whoever, her, play at 1 p.m. Play for 4 hours and I'll be home by 7. And I have somehow become, because I moved to California, this fan of like 5 p.m. dinners. Like, I want to be home by 8. I want to get done. I'm so in on this idea, and I don't know why people do it. In New York, you can go to a Broadway show at 2. It's a matinee. It's less expensive because they're not going to sell that much alcohol. That's probably why they don't want to do it. But like, I would be there immediately. Would you go see somebody at 1 o'clock in the afternoon?
Oh, absolutely. Kay, we've worked in morning television for 7 years. Like, time means nothing. I love things when they're earlier. It's always a bonus for me. So absolutely. And, nothing's going to stop you from drinking in the middle of the day if you want to either. So I don't even buy that. I think it's going to be a great time.
Everyone knows
I
do all my drinking in the morning, as everyone knows. So can we move up the social schedule and do a matinee 1 p.m. concert? I will drink. I might pay. They should make those, because they're not selling as much booze, make it more expensive. I would maybe pay more to go to a 1 p.m. showing. And Jamie Lee Curtis is a queen and has the right idea. Okay, so another thing I'm obsessed with, I don't watch television. I don't watch movies. or any of that. I am not looking forward to watching The Longest Yard, which Gronk told me is my homework assignment. I am obsessed with Shrinking. It is this show. It's short. It's 30-minute episodes. So this is my PSA. I've done the work. I've watched all of it. Harrison Ford, Chef's Kiss. I'm obsessed with him. He sings like 90s alt songs in the car on his way to work. And he's so good. The breakout star is this amazing actress, and the characters, Gabby, Jessica Williams played it. She is going to be an absolute star. And I love her in this movie. I mean, everybody. There's Sean and Jimmy's relationship. The next episode drops Friday on Apple TV. I got home from Park City and I could not wait to sit down by myself and watch that episode. So Shrinking, have you seen it?
I haven't yet. I'm gonna have to check it out. Currently, Kelly has me binge watching Gossip Girl. So I appreciate the Blair Waldorf reference there in the A Block with Aaron Rodgers. But I'm gonna have to check this out.
I can't get behind Gossip Girl. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sending you thoughts and prayers here. The last thing I'm currently not obsessed with, Marissa. What did you say, Conrad? I can't hear you. I think that's the problem. So what did you say, buddy? Oh yeah, see, Yogi Roth knows that. Yeah, Yogi.
Hello.
How are we doing?
What's up, Yogi?
Yogi, tell us about Shrinking. It's so good.
I'm with you. Every night I'm like talking to my wife. I'm like, dude, you got to watch another one. And she didn't start till episode 4. But I'm like, look, I'll catch you up. I can't slow down. This is too good. This is too good right now.
Are we doing Succession? Are we doing Ted Lasso? Those are in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, Lasso for sure. That was a big pandemic one for everybody. Got my Believe sign up here. Got it like in my kids' rooms. So all in on that. Succession is more of a plane thing for me. Like I'm on a flight, like I'll download it. But it's a little too long for me. A little too dark. I don't want to go there on the media world, the world we live in. I'm not ready to do that just yet.
Yogi, what is a 5-star television show?
Oh, one that makes me cry, I think. I always want a good, like healthy, and that's a Lasso one. Inspiration also can get you creative, lean into it. Like, I could write a show like this. I think I'm going to go travel. I'm going to go do something. Any sort of nudge, I'm all in, especially anything, as we share the common bond of exploring. Anything's going to get me to be like, I need to go to Paris now, or I need to go to Barcelona now, or I need to go to San Sebastian now, or Indonesia now. Any of those, sign me up. I'm always.
We love San Sebastian. That was a 5-star answer from Yogi Roth, who's going to be with us after this break. Do not go anywhere. We're going to get into it. Chris Collinsworth yesterday, his alma mater guy, Anthony Richardson. He didn't seem that high on him. I'm saying swing for the fences. We'll find out what Yogi thinks about Tim Stroud and company. Bryce Young, all next. 5-star quarterback. We got the author of this book. It was on my shelf in our studio, which is getting remodeled. This guy is a quarterback guru, a college football analyst for Pac-12 Network, and host of the It Factory podcast, Yogi Roth. Hi.
What's happening? Thanks for having me.
We have to do this in person sometime. I feel bad. You're like 11 miles away from me or something. We could do this on surfboards. We got to fix this for next time.
Well, if you want, right after this segment, my boards are already loaded. I'm literally going to dip right out to the Venice Beach Pier and paddle right in immediately when we're done. So let's go.
That sounds like my literal nightmare. My actual nightmare would be that situation. Though it is a beautiful day out today. So Yogi Roth knows all things California, all things exploring, travel, inspiration. He likes a good, healthy cry. And he is going to fill me in on everything I need to know for the draft process. The NFL Combine, it was last week, all the quarterbacks. I mean, top prospect, Alabama's Bryce Young. His size has been under a microscope. I hate to see that. So he weighs in at like 5'10", over 200 pounds. From what you have seen, what you know from Young, how much does his size actually matter as he transitions into the bigs?
Well, for him, 0, right? I mean, I remember meeting him at the Elite 11, and it's amazing because he, Anthony Richardson, CJ Stroud, all the same class, all came together. And you want to talk about like different sizes. I know we'll talk about all those guys, but totally different. And you stand next to Bryce Young when he's 17 and you're like, oh, wow, like I could play quarterback back in the day. Right? That's when quarterbacks all had to be 6'5", it seemed like. But when you talk to him about it, a lot of, him similarly to Russell Wilson or Kyler Murray, any of these guys you talk to that are under 6 foot, they all say the same thing is, I've played the position at the same size my whole life. So everybody wants to talk about throwing lanes and, can you get it over the overstretched arms of a defensive lineman or all these linebackers coming off the edge? They're like, I've been doing it my whole life. And then you go watch him at Alabama, and he's been doing it the entire time he's been in Tuscaloosa. He did it at Mater Dei, the powerhouse high school he was at. It's not like he's had a drop off when the competition got larger, longer, bigger, faster. So I'm not worried about it. And I think when you look at Bryce K, he is one of one. Like, he's going to be, I think, one of those special guys. You know, we always compare small guys to Russell Wilson, I think, or other, like the one small guy who's made it, or now Kyler Murray or Drew Brees. We'll be comparing 5'10" quarterbacks, I think, to Bryce Young for the next decade.
So did you say you do compare him to Drew Brees? Because I've also heard, you know, Kyler Murray. I've heard a short Patrick Mahomes. Those are the comparisons I'm hearing. So which NFL player does he compare to in your mind?
You know, I'll say this. The first day I saw him, I remember turning to Trent Dilfer and Joey Roberts at the Elite 11 and saying, he reminds me of Steph Curry. Like, he's a true point guard. And I think that offenses have changed. I talked to a quarterback coach in the league early this morning about all this draft class. And I think when you look at what quarterbacks are asked to do, it's different than when it was when I played, or let alone 10 years ago. And I think when you look at Bryce, he can just deal, much like Steph, point guard, boom, 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 drain a deep three, right? I think Bryce is boom, boom, boom down the field. And then, wow, he can just rip your heart out with climbing in the pocket, taking a hit, and still delivering on a dig route or a crossing route. So that's my comp. I think he's got elements of all of the men that we mentioned, but he's different. His build is different. His feet are different. How he gets the ball out is different. So I think he'll be the guy that we start to compare other players to as his NFL career progresses.
I love that. I immediately, because there's this human Ted Lasso-y element to the combine that's the way I approach it. I'd approach it as, I feel for these guys and they're being pulled apart, and I know it's what they've wanted their entire lives. And I right away am drawn towards the polarizing figure, always looking for who that person's going to be. And that, of course, is, I mean, if there was a quarterback MVP award given, it would be Anthony Richardson, and what he was able to show and put on such an athletic performance. But he's the blue cheese. He's the cilantro of the combine draft process. You either love him or you don't. So where do you come out on Richardson?
I'm a huge fan of who he is. I think there's a commonality among high performers, and it's that they've met adversity, welcomed it, and found a way to compete, to be optimistic through it. Right? Psychology would say at the core of resilience is optimism. You tap back into Anthony Richardson's life story, and you see a guy that isn't just a big frame and a dramatic athlete who can do a little bit of everything, but he's a guy who's had to compete his whole life. So here's a story for you. At Elite 11, we ask all the quarterbacks to write an essay prior to them coming to the finals about when they've met adversity. And it's really cool to see what they write. Some talk about a high school state championship game. Some talk about being the backup quarterback. Some talk about real life stuff. And for Anthony Richardson, this is a guy who started playing football at 3, but he didn't have much when he was growing up. Didn't always have food, didn't always have shelter. Academically, he struggled in 8th grade. He had a 1.8 GPA. The basketball team said, hey, you've got to improve. From that moment on through the rest of his life, he's never had lower than 3.0. I say all that because I think we look at 4.44 or the crazy vert, or just the fascinating figure that he is physically. And I think you got to tap into the other stuff. Like, what is this guy's essence? And he's a competitor, and not just on the field of play, but academically throughout his life, throughout his early life, throughout his time at Florida. You talk to the coaches at Florida, they all rave about the type of person he is. They call him sometimes the best quarterback a lot of them have ever been around. You look at Billy Napier and his pedigree and where he's been. And then I just go to reps. I think we always want to judge these guys and they have to instantly be successful. Same thing from high school to college, like the book that you referenced. Same thing from college to the NFL. Well, how about a redshirt year? This guy had less than 400 pass attempts in college. Let's just let him get to the league and clean up some of his mechanics, which will, I think, be cleaned up when he goes to the right place, finds a coach that can really coach him, and get after it. Because his upside is special. We know that physically. And the tenor of his mindset, to me, is that Ted Lasso effect that you reference of, okay, this is somebody I want to sign up and roll with.
Yogi, you're saying the right place, the right coach. What is the perfect football situation for Richardson?
That's a great question. I don't know. I just hope it's healthy. I mean, part of me would love to see him in Seattle. Just, Coach Carroll's the biggest mentor I had in my 20s. So that'd be fun. I know they just re-signed, of course, Geno Smith and have their quarterback, but I think it'd be cool to see that. and watch him grow in that system under that staff. But I'd imagine every quarterback coach, you go 1 through 32, they'd say, man, I'd love to get my hands on him. Now, we know what the CBA and everything does in terms of limiting time with coaches and players, but I bet every quarterback coach in any facility is going to say, just let me get started with this young man. He's thirsty for it. He knows his upside. He knows where he's a little bit flawed, but when you watch him on film, he also does some special things really well. And he does some of the basic things really well. It's just a consistency thing at times. And that to me just comes down for reps at any level of that position.
I told Chris Collinsworth he reminds me of Josh Allen. All the athleticism, the arm, the strength, but accuracy and mechanics might be a bit something that needs to be worked on and can be worked on if you're in a good position, like Josh Allen was, of course. He's so fascinating. Like, I would take him if I was one of these teams. I'm trading up and taking him number 1 overall over Bryce Young because I'm swinging for potential. What he could be is what I would draft, not less so much the sure thing that would be Bryce Young. Would I be crazy to do that?
No, you wouldn't be crazy. You'd be K. You always swing for the fences. I figure that's like a vibe in your life. But I look at this and this is what I think happens at this position, on the minor scale in the college football world I live in, on the massive scale in the NFL world that you live in daily, is we take these, let's just say these 3 quarterbacks and CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, and Anthony Richardson, and we start to pick and prod. And who do we take? Who's a sure thing? Who can come in and play right now? Who needs to develop a little bit more? And I look at all 3 of them and I'm like, you're going to win. Like, these 3 guys, I believe, are going to be faces of franchises for a long time, pending the health. And we know the situation matters, right? I thought Sam Darnold would be that, and the Jets weren't necessarily dialed in when he went there, in my opinion. But I look at this class and these 3 guys, and CJ is going to lead you to wins, big wins, and he's going to be a pillar for the franchise. Bryce, same thing. Anthony, give him a year or so, to your point of developing in the Josh Allen comp. He's going to do the same thing. So I love all these guys. I think it just goes to fit what your quarterback room is like, where the contracts are situated, and how long you want to lean on certain guys, the job security, I'm sure, of the head coach in that specific franchise. But I'm a fan of them all. I don't know who I would pick. I'd have to go to and look at my team and where my strengths are and what we need probably right now before I'd have to make my.
Well, it sounds like Bryce Young is a day 1 starter and Anthony Richardson may not be, is what I'm hearing and what I'm gathering. But I want to talk about another quarterback, this guy out of Kentucky, this Will Levis kid who goes to the combine. He's like, I'm going to darn toot and show off my arm strength. And he certainly did. His velocity on his passes was clocked at 59 miles per hour, the 3rd highest among combine quarterbacks since the year 2016. So having a cannon for an arm is amazing. What else does he bring to the table?
Well, I'm excited to watch him and his draft prospectus just continue to grow. I've talked to some guys in the league, and there's a common theme when it comes to Will Levis. One, everybody falls in love with what you said. Everybody falls in love with the seriousness he has at the position, the grittiness he has of believing in his own self, right? The passion and perseverance Angela Duckworth, of course, defined years ago. I think when I look at him, the one thing he'll have to continue to show, and he will in his pro day and his workouts, is I call it the trajectory 2 throws, right? So there's the darts, there's the home run ball that you see right there. But in the NFL, I think the throws that continue to impress week in and week out are those ones where you can layer the ball, right? It's not a beeline. Doesn't have a ton of arc, but it's kind of that up and down ball, up over the linebackers in front of the safeties. Can you get that ball out up in front of a corner who's squatting in front of a safety, in cover 2 coverage or whatever it may be? That's to me what most quarterback coaches are going to put him through. I think he'll do well there. He played in a system that was very similar to the Rams, was a pro-style system. Everybody I've talked to him, whether it was people at Penn State or now at his most recent school in Kentucky, they rave about him. He's not, I think, like those first 3 guys that we talked about, but I'll be really curious because he'll probably land at a place that's a little healthier than some of those teams in the top 10 draft picks where those other 3 quarterbacks may go.
But this kid has to go in and talk to the team brass and the player personnel people about some of his red flags. And I have found at least 2. What do we make of this? The red flag of him putting mayonnaise, yes, mayo, into coffee and consuming it. Come on.
Yeah, look, you and I are, I'd imagine, coffee latte connoisseurs. That I've never tried, so I can't take massive shots against it. But for somebody who loves Paris and who loves a European cappuccino, I can't imagine walking into a sweet cafe in one of those amazing cities that we love with Will Levis and allowing him to do that. I'd have to help him out a little bit.
We have to help him out a little bit. I just think that's the biggest red flag I saw. There was another one with Will Levis, Mr. Velocity Cannon Arm. He eats bananas with the peel on.
Yeah. I mean, look, I think if that's like Costa Rica, I'd probably get down with something like that. Or maybe if you grilled it or like did a little something, put some seasoning on it, you could try it. But I'd be curious what the next 12 hours are like. Like, what's the digestive system like with the peel of the banana? And look, I'm kind of a banana connoisseur. Like, our 2-year-old every morning wakes up and says, banana, banana. So like, I'm grabbing bananas every morning, but he's yet to go for the peel. I wouldn't recommend it, but I'd be curious for Will what the aftermath was like.
You being around you makes me a better person, because I was ready to eviscerate him for both of these crimes against food. But you are so wonderful where you're like, I've never tried it. It's fine. And I will say, because you're so wonderful, you made me think about a time that Conrad, my producer, told me about eating kiwis with the skin on. And I made fun of him and said, that's disgusting. What do you do? And then I tried it and it was actually delicious and nutritious. So maybe if I want to throw 95 miles per hour, then I need to start changing up my dietary situation to his. Look, we both said stuff that was really nice. Elite 11 is about the coolest thing that exists. You've been with them for so long now. And you mentioned CJ Stroud. So let's get into it. He was an Elite 11 kid. That's why you talk about him. That's why he was the MVP back in 2019. Can you tell me about his growth from back then, being a quarterback in high school, to what he looks like and is now?
Yeah, well, you look at his growth since he was a kid, right? It's been well documented, what he had to go through off the field. Father ended up going to prison. He had to figure out his life. I remember talking to him when he got his Elite 11 invite, and tears are coming down his face. He was so happy. He told his mom, I made it. I mean, this was not a huge prospect. Teams all across the country were not all over him until he came to Dallas and competed against Bryce Young and the Anthony Richardsons and such at the Elite 11 finals. Then all of a sudden, phone just blew up. I look at him and he made a really good choice at an early age as a teenager. He said, look, I could be a statistic or I can compete to get through this and chase my dream and provide for my family. And he's done just that. I mean, he's a serious dude. He's been a counselor the last couple of years at the Elite 11. And then you watch him play, whether it's the Rose Bowl, or the playoff games, or big games at Ohio State. The dude just deals. I mean, physically, he's gifted. Mentally, I think he's special. He's dramatically driven based on his past, and his support system's off the charts. Like his mom, Kimberly, she's a part of the 5-star book that you referenced earlier. Her advice to other parents, let alone to him, is just phenomenal. Yeah, you see it on the screen of like, I love the last line, like better days will always come. And again, I go back to resiliency. At the core of optimism is resilience. That is the definition of all these young men that we talked about. And definitely CJ Stroud. I know how excited he is to finally live out this dream. I'm so pumped for him. I remember sitting literally next to him in Cowboys practice facility, and Ryan Day's calling. Marcus Arroyo's calling at Oregon. All these coaches start calling because he's about to win the MVP and he's blowing up. And he just had such a sense of gratitude as he was going through it. And it hasn't changed from that point to Ohio State to becoming this figure that he is. And it won't change when he's a top 10 draft pick.
It's an amazing analysis. I love that you know these guys. I love that you talk about what else they bring to the table, because it's something that we know is important. It is what works. It is why Joe Burrow is Joe Burrow. It's why Mahomes is Mahomes. It's some of those intangible things, even though the talent on the field is what it is. And we're going to pick it apart and talk about hand size and all that BS. But it's also about what's in here and what's in here and what motivates them. And that's something that you've seen so close. So we appreciate you. We love you. Quickly, can you shout out very quickly the name of somebody that might not be getting enough love? Yeah.
How about Jake Haener? How about Tanner McKee and Dorian Thompson-Robinson? Those are some that stand out for me. Jake Haener, all those guys came through the Elite 11. Haener can deal. I mean, he's going to be a guy that won't get drafted in the first or second round, but keep an eye on him. He's gritty, he's tough, he's got all the things. Size isn't great in terms of the prototype, but I love him. Tanner McKee is the guy who beat cancer as a high schooler. He had to go through a surgery where they thought if they missed by a literal millimeter, he would never be able to make the throwing motion with his arm. And thankfully, the doctor didn't. He went on to compete at Stanford, get his degree there. This is a guy who played volleyball, hoops, big fan of him. And then Dorian, his athleticism is getting everybody to lean in. So we'll see how he does at his pro day. It's next week. But those are three guys that I'd keep an eye on.
Amazing. Check out the It Factory podcast. Go get bananas for your child. And you can always pick up 5-star quarterback, which is a great read. We'll be back after this. We've got Sam Monson from PFF on the show. We're going to get you guys some other headlines and check in on Aaron Rodgers and what that situation is. Take a shot on college hoops with an assist from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. New customers bet the bracket and get 10 times your first bet in bonus bets. That's up to $200 in bonus bets, win or loss. With FanDuel, you can bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to which team will score first. So join today and get up to $200 in bonus bets when you place your first bet, guaranteed. Make every moment more with FanDuel. Back on Up and Adams, time to get PFF up. What does that mean? We're welcoming our friend who has all the numbers that I never know what they are, but that are important and imperative for the draft process. This is the co-host of the PFF NFL podcast, PFF's lead NFL analyst, Sam Monson. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
It's good. I'm good. It's good to see you. We got the draft coming up. We got free agency. Any thoughts on Aaron Rodgers quickly?
Oh, I'd love to see him go to the Jets. I think that's a phenomenal fit for both sides. I think the Jets have a team that he can win a Super Bowl with right now, and Rodgers is the quarterback that can get the Jets there. It's a match made in heaven.
All right. I'd like to see it too. Let's get some PFF'd up action going on here, though. 91.1 is the number. What could that be? I don't even know.
That is the PFF pass rushing grade for Javon Hargrave, the Philadelphia Eagles defensive tackle last season. He's been above 90 in each of the last 2 years. He's one of the best interior pass rushers in the NFL. And I think he's probably the best free agent available this year.
Okay, we're doing some free agency PFF'd up with you. Hargrave had double-digit sacks. He had 11 this past year, which is insane for his position. This is a D tackle that we're talking about. And I've talked and raved and cheers to Hassan Reddick a lot, but this guy is a big reason the Eagles led the league with a whopping 70 sacks this season as well. Okay, so let's get into another number. They're telling me the number is 12. Tom Brady's new number on the Miami Dolphins?
This number 12 is the position in PFF WAR. That's wins above replacement. You guys are baseball fans. You know this stat that Jamel Dean had last year. That's his rank. He's been top 15 in each of the last 3 seasons. I don't think people think about Jamel Dean as this sort of top tier starting cornerback, but he's been so good since entering the NFL. He's got this sort of weird linebacker body type, this guy that looks like he should be playing a different position, but he's really good as a starting corner.
This was the guy that if you paid close attention and watched that Super Bowl win with the Buccaneers, that really kept Tyreek Hill under wraps. That's what he did. He was a big part of that in that win for Brady and company. And he's also just 26 years old. So this is, WAR is bringing me back to like fantasy baseball days over at SiriusXM. Right. But whatever you say at PFF goes. But he is somebody that if you know what you're talking about, you know he is effective and in the right position would crush it. So good luck to him and all these free agents. The number is 51.8. I'm guessing that is Lamar Jackson's new average salary per year once he gets a deal done.
You would expect it to be, yeah. 51.8, we're sticking with cornerbacks. This is the passer rating that James Bradbury allowed last season all the way through the year, including the playoffs, including the Super Bowl, which was the lowest in the NFL. He had a career year for the Eagles. He's going to be looking to get that one more monster contract off the back of that season, and certainly showed last year that he can still play at that kind of top of the market level.
I mean, he's an all-pro. He's been one of the best corners in the league, and I'm glad that you're bringing him up because that is the kind of stuff I want to see when people bring up James Bradbury. The holding penalty should not be the thing that follows him around, but again, I just said it, so I kind of just put a spotlight on it again. But that stuff that you're talking about with his passer rating allowed all season, including this amazing playoff run that people should be thinking about with him in free agency. All right, the last one is the number 21. isn't that the amount of days it takes to form a habit?
Possibly. 21 is the number of total pressures that right tackle Jawan Taylor gave up last year in 19 games. This is a guy who is seen throughout the league as a top-tier, premier pass protector. And certainly last season, he showed exactly why. I think he's going to end up getting big money from somebody in the free agent marketplace.
It was in 19 games last season. The pass protection, a big reason Trevor Lawrence was so great and going to Waffle House late in the season. He was sacked 4 times, y'all. 4 times over the Jags' last 5 games and that win streak that they had going to win the AFC South. The Jags won the South. That was a wild season we had. It's just getting wilder.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you. We got to go and wrap now, but Sam Monson, check out his work over at PFF, the new PFF. And that mock draft simulator thing, I know we tweeted about it this morning. It is so badass. Go check that out on your personal work today, people. We'll be back. Wrapping it up here on a Thursday. No show tomorrow. We'll be back Monday for free agency craziness. Like I said, I'm looking at trades happening. I'm looking at the quarterback movement of, proven guys, maybe not elite star guys, but the Baker Mayfields, the Jimmy Garoppolos, what happens to them. Of course, Aaron Rodgers is a part of that. Lamar Jackson leading the way as well. So we're going to keep our eyes peeled on that. During our show, though, Hamilton, there was some movement.
Yeah, there's a little bit of news floating around out there. Adam Schefter is reporting that there's a real possibility that the Vikings are going to let go of Adam Thielen. So obviously he's been there his whole career, grew up in Minnesota. So that's going to be a tough one to see happen, but I'm sure he'll get plenty of interest on the free agent market. And the Jets have agreed to a trade. It's not the one everybody's waiting for, but they landed Ravens safety Chuck Clark. So that makes that top 5 defense even better.
Hey, great. I'm glad that we did that update. Sounds great. Man, get it done. Let's get it done before. Don't show up without her saying yes to that engagement ring. I'm telling you, that's not going to be a good look for those Jets if that happens that way, because I don't know who they come up with if they don't get Aaron Rodgers. Hamilton, great work by you. We will see you guys on Monday for free agency madness. You guys can tweet the show or hit us up on Instagram. The DMs.